Hello, grade 12 potential scorers, potential toppers. Let's work the final few stretches out. The chapter I do today, I take it up. The last lesson, that's the first chapter of your grade 12 syllabus. Ironic because the first chapter named the last lesson. Now, you do drop into a comment section. What do you mean by irony? I would be very happy if you give the correct answer. All right, so the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Uh, Easy, very, very easy chapter. Just a few little nuances that you need to know. The last lesson, as the name suggests, it's probably talks about the last French lesson, a lesson that the characters involved in the story are going to have. So quickly, let's brush you up through the chapter. Let's take it up in parts. So when part one, or when the part one, the story opens, we see that a little boy named Franz is walking towards his school. Now he doesn't want to go to school. There are soldiers drilling, marching at the somewhere in distant, and then he doesn't want to go to school. Firstly, because he's never interested, and secondly, because on that particular day he has not completed his homework on participles. So his teacher had given a homework on participles that he has not completed, and therefore he does not want to go to school. What does he want to do? He rather wants to uh, take a flight away, not the flight, just an escape from there. But he wanted to go seeking birds eggs, and then it all sounded, there's a very rosy picture presented how nice it would be to just be all by himself in the field. So he is imagining that. However, he still is going to school. Now, as he passes by, he sees a bulletin board. Now, bulletin board is a symbol of all the bad news, because this story is set during the times of the conflict between France and Prussia. So, he does not want, he knew that this bulletin board is a symbol of all bad news, all the sad ideas. So, while he's passing by, he sees that, there are a lot of people who have gathered there, and he's thinking to himself, ab kya ho sakta hai? It's already so bad and devastating. So, what more? So, the story is set in French districts of Alsace and Lorraine. These names you learn during the Franco-Prussian War. France and Prussia, 1870-1871. The protagonist, Franz, is a young schoolboy. He starts school late. He's fearing, first of all, he's late. Secondly, he's not done his homework. So, because he hasn't prepared his participle lesson, as he passes the town hall, he notices that there's a big crowd gathered in front of the notice board, which always brought bad news. The blacksmith watcher calls out to him, but Franz assumes he's making fun of him. So he calls out saying that, hey, bub, you have plenty of time. But he thinks he's making fun because he does not understand the gravity of the situation. Now, coming to the class part. Now, he always counted on the hustle and bustle. जब भी लेट होता था उसको ऐसा लगता था कि शोर होगा, उसी शोर में he'll be able to sneak himself through the class and without anybody noticing. But the scene in the class is quite tense. Usually, there is a bustle, there's a noise in the classroom with loud recitations, but that day the class is unusually silent. Franz notices that M. Hamel, the teacher, is wearing his green coat, special green coat, embroidered black cap, which he usually wore on special days, prize days, and inspections. The village elders, पीछे वो सारे वो classroom में there are village elders who are sitting. Everybody's there, quiet and very very serious and tense. The postmaster, the former mayor, old Hauser, these are the people that's mentioned कि ये लोग class में पीछे बैठे हैं, which is highly unusual. Now, part three says M. Hamill, he announces that it's the shock of their life when M. Hamill announces that this is their last French lesson, as a new order from Berlin mandates teaching only German language. Now, imagine all this while they had been studying their language, taking it for granted कि हाँ हम पढ़ तो लेंगे, if not today, maybe tomorrow. Now suddenly they have this news wherein it mandates that French is to be stopped and it is German that they are going to study. Franz is shocked and regretful, realizing that he has taken his education for granted. Now he feels utterly in regret, deep regret. He feels guilty कि अभी तक he had taken it very lightly. He had procrastinated. He had postponed it to the next day. But now he's filled with remorse, guilt. Deep remorse for not valuing his lesson, avoiding school, and playing outside instead. Now, part four, what does it talk about? The importance of French and education. French, M. Hamill explains that people, जो लोग होते हैं, they always, keep postponing, keep derailing. ये तीन लोगों को पहले तो he blames that ये जो condition है आज, it's because of three people that you all don't know that how to he says that तुम लोग अपने आप को you all call yourself Frenchmen. When these people they come in and you do not know how to read and write your own language, what a shame and what an embarrassment it would be. So he blames the students for not taking their lessons very lightly. He blames these people कि ये जो लोग हैं the parents saying that you always wanted extra hand at work, so you send your kids to work rather than sending them to class. And he blames himself also. He said that even I did not take it seriously because कई बार जब when I wanted to go fishing मैंने छुट्टी दे दी, कई बार when I wanted to water my plants मैंने छुट्टी दे दी. So he blames all these people. Then he goes on to talk about the beauty of French language. He says it's the most logical, clearest of all languages. It's the most beautiful language that there is. And if you hold on to your language, it is as if you had a key to your prison. Meaning what? Uh, अगर आप अपने लैंग्वेज के लिए इफ यू आर डिवोटेड सो वन कैन कैप्चर योर फिजिकल बॉडी. आप फिजिकली कैप्चर हो सकते हो बट नॉट in your heart, because in your heart, because you're holding on to your language, you're holding on to your cultural values, you are still a Frenchman. So M. Hamill explains that people always think they have more time to learn but they procrastinate. Spelling yaad rakhna, procrastinate ka. He criticizes the parents for not prioritizing education and himself for often giving students time off for personal errands. तो ये तीन लोगों को भी criticize करता है, एक तो बच्चों को भी for not taking it seriously, for parents because they send them for work and not to the class, and for himself कि जब भी उसको छोटे छोटे काम होते थे he would give them an off. He praises the French language, calling it most beautiful, logical and clear language, and urges them to hold on to the language as if they are, because it's a key to their prison. Part 5, the final goodbye. So the students earnestly engage in their writing. Then he had given them work on writing. टोन क्या है? इट्स नॉस्टैल्जिक इन टोन. जो टोन है पूरे चैप्टर का, नॉस्टैल्जिक इन टोन. द स्टूडेंट्स अर्नेस्टली एंगेज इन देयर राइटिंग एंड ग्रामर एक्सरसाइजेस, अंडरस्टैंडिंग देयर importance for the first time. तो because आज तक उन्होंने seriously नहीं लिया है, this is the first time that they are taking it seriously, so they are quietly doing their work. Even the elders participate, showing regret for not having learned their language earlier. Franz wonders whether even the pigeons on the roof would be forced to coo in German. He's just evaluating the gravity of the situation. He's thinking if, itna, because ye jo the country in power, is it going to be so overpowering ki he's thinking whether the birds will also coo in German now. M. Hamill, overwhelmed with emotion, writes Vive la France on the blackboard, meaning what? Long live France. Unable to speak due to emotion, he dismisses the class with simple hand gesture. So when he writes that, the kids below, they can hear his sister packing upstairs because they are to leave the next day. For 40 years, this teacher had given his services to the school. Now he's supposed to depart, and then it's very sudden, and then he feels very overwhelmed, so much so that he cannot speak, वो बोल नहीं पा रहा, so he just gestures these people to go. So as the clock strikes 12, and then the Angelus is the prayer that they hear at the church. So they can hear, and at the same time the soldiers drilling, the trumpet sound. तो ये दोनों का symbolism क्या है कि एक ही साइड पे there's quietude, एक ही साइड पे there is the symbol of war, and एक ही टाइम पे ये दो आइडियाज एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं. एट द सेम टाइम दे आर टू मेंटेन देयर क्वाइटिट्यूड इन द टाइम्स ऑफ टर्मोइल, वॉर. तो दैट इज व्हाट इट इज. ही जेस्चर्स एंड दीज किड्स लीव. Now, literary devices, symbolism कहाँ है? M. Hamill's attire, green coat, frilled shirt symbolizes the importance of the moment. So, because he always wore these clothes on important days, so it symbolizes that there's something very, very important that's going to happen. The silent classroom represents the solemnity of losing their language, regret of the the sadness of losing their language. The phrase "Vive la France" symbolizes resistance and patriotism. तो उन्होंने जब लिखा "Vive la France", so it symbolizes that they long live France, the tribute that he would like to pay as a patriot. मेटाफोर क्या होता है? जब दो चीजों को विदाउट यूजिंग एज इन लाइक कंपेयर करते हैं. सिंबोलिज्म क्या होता है? यूजिंग एज इन लाइक जब कंपेयर करते हैं, दैट सिंबोलिज्म. थंडर क्लैप, when जब he says that this is the last French lesson, he Franz says कि these words were like thunder clap in my ears, it was like a shock to my ears. तो वो जो words हैं उनका comparison to a shock, to a thunder clap, is it's called metaphor. The key to the prison. So language is compared as a key to their prison. एक जगह पे है चैप्टर में, where in the books which were now earlier so heavy to carry were like my best friends. So it's comparing the book to best friends. um wo, that's also simile. Irony, people realize the value of their language only when they are about to lose it. ये ironical है. Last lesson, it's the first time that they realize that their language was so important to them. Personification. Pigeons cooing very low suggests the sorrowful mood of the setting. Pigeons cooing, human attribute, person's attribute is given to the pigeon. So in this context, you could say that cooing, also onomatopoeia, words denoting sound are onomatopoeias. So that's also an onomatopoeia. Contrast Fran's initial reluctance versus deep regret later. Early जब जहाँ chapter शुरू होता है, आप देखोगे he was very disinterested in going, and then he's trying to look for excuses why he should not go. He knows he'll be scolded. पहला तो late है, दूसरा homework नहीं किया. But towards the end, what do you see? That he's filled with remorse, he's filled with guilt कि उसने अपने language को seriously नहीं लिया. कैरेक्टर्स जो दो तीन, नाउ ये तो इनके पिक्स है, द की वर्ड्स फॉर दीज कैरेक्टर्स. आप इनको एक्सप्लेन करोगे कि आपको क्यों लगता है कि ये लेजी है, केयरलेस है, अनमोटिवेटेड है. सो फ्रांस इज अ यंग स्टूडेंट, इनिशियली लेजी, केयरलेस एंड अनमोटिवेटेड. He fears punishment but later realizes the value of education. His deep regret and emotional change symbolizes the lost opportunity to learn. एम हैमिल के क्या क्या characteristic hai? He's a strict teacher. He's dedicated and strict but compassionate in his final lesson. He wears special attire to mark the solemnity, to mark the importance of the moment. He blames himself, मतलब उसको remorse है, उनको खुद भी remorse है. He knows the gravity and he blames himself also, okay, because he did not take it seriously himself. His speech on the French language reflects his patriotism and sorrow. And village elders, they represent remorse, nostalgia. Earlier, even they were neglectful towards French language, but then they now are filled with, a deep sense of guilt. Their presence emphasizes the loss of cultural identity. Keywords kya kya hai? Great dread of, fear of being punished, being scolded, a great bustle, a lot of commotion and noise. Thumbed at the edges, मतलब वो जो primer है, the book, the basic book ABCDE in French that he had, old Hauser had, that's thumbed at the edges. मतलब it looks damp at the edges. Used book कैसी हो जाती है? Damp. So that is how thumbed at the edges, it's damp at the edges. Reproach ourselves with, we blame ourselves with, we reproach ourselves matlab blaming ourselves. Thunderclap, a sudden shock of unexpected event. Vive la France, a patriotic slogan meaning long live France. Thank you so much. This chapter is very interesting, very scoring, very very important as well. So bye bye, have fun, keep learning.